Hello there. Come on. There we go. I am Carol Crafty Grandma, and today we are going to finish up our series. Well, we may need another part to finish the bag, but so far we've made 2 different bags out of 1 jelly roll strip, or 1 jelly roll pack. This is the large bag. This is the mini bag. And today we're going to make the medium bag. As you can see, that the straps on the big one kind of fold over, but these have all been made exactly the way the directions the designer created them, except for the fact that I added feet. Add little metal feet and little metal feet. There we go. See, just little metal feet. And I will be adding the metal feet to the medium-sized bag also. But I have been looking at the hardware I have available in the house and different things like that. So I think that I am going to make, I'm not certain which size I'm going to make, but I do believe I'm going to make another one. I've got some white vinyl, which will look great instead of the blue on the bottom, using white vinyl. May or may not use the white vinyl for the handles. Still thinking about that one. The handles, I'm going to use some hardware that I've got, the D-rings, and I'm thinking I'll make them in a couple different sizes and or a crossbody. That way, if you would like to get rid of the little handles and just use it as a crossbody, you can do that. I definitely want to put some sort of closure on the top. I'm leaning towards a zipper all the way across the middle. You would not see it on the outside. It would just be on the inside. There would be a zipper so that you can open it. Definitely feel the largest one here needs some sort of exterior pocket. And they all need some sort of interior pockets. So going to be playing with that and figuring out what I want to do for certain. I still have an entire half set of strips, and I think the medium I'm going to be able to get out of the first half. Don't know, we might have to break into them. But I definitely know that I'm going to be able to get another full bag, whichever size I want, out of this jelly roll. So not only are we getting 3 bags, we're going to get some bonus stuff out of it too. So, all right, I'm going to put the little bag in the big bag. Look at that. Fits so nice. And then off to the side they go. Might pull them out a couple times for reference, but for right now, they are out of the way. So the first thing we need are strips. That's what we've needed for every time. Again, these bags are made exactly the same way. They call them feed sacks. And those things right there are from the large bag, and that was supposed to be the pocket. As I mentioned in prior parts, it makes sense because you don't want to waste fabric. And this was from the swoop that goes around underneath your arm. I don't like the pocket. I didn't find it interesting at all. So I need 20 strips that are 2 inches wide. So we're going to have to cut our 2.5 inch strips down to 2. And they're going to be 12.5 inches long. So let's see which strips we have. This is our white. This is going to be our lining. Here's some extra lining in case we need it. This is our bottom and our top, our bottom and our strips, or handles, shoulder straps, whatever we want to call them. Don't need that ruler right now. I will need it later. Here we go. Here are the strips that I have left. So these are 1-inch strips that are left over from cutting the mini bag. I will not be saving the 1/2-inch strips, but I did save these 1-inch strips. I'm trying to decide, we might even create like a wallet or something like that. I haven't designed it, but I'm thinking that with these little strips, we might be able to pull something off like that. So they're being saved off to the side just because. All right, let me get the fusible fleece off of there so you can see what's going on. We'll put that back down there. There we go. So here is the entire set of half set of strips that's left. Still on the cardboard, still ready to go. Hopefully we won't have to break into these to get this bag done. So let's see. What do we have here? These are short strips. And they are about 11 inches long. So this would actually make another whole mini bag. Well, one side of a mini bag. But they're not going to be enough to make the medium. So I'm going to set those off to the side with the 1-inch because they're not going to work. And let's see here. These are the 2 full strips that I've never used. And we need 12.5. And these are 21 inches long. So I could get 4 12.5s out of this. I'm going to need a writing utensil. So that's 4 so far. These are the ones that are all joined together. How many are there? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. There are 8 of them, and I'm sure they're just long enough to get one out of. Oh, no. I can get 2. So 8 times 2 is 16. Oh, look at that. Perfect. Perfect. 20. So I can get 2 strips out of each of these. And 4 strips out of each of these, or 4 total. Hey! This is going to work. Alright, I am going to start by, I'm not going to cut these out, separate these, because I just don't feel like messing with it. So let's get the salvage cut off of this one. Excellent. And then we make it 12.5 inches long. Now, keep in mind, this is too wide, but I'm going to cut them all to length first. Then we'll worry about width. And that way I make sure I get 20 of them. And then we'll worry about all right, salvage. if you decide you wanted to make a complete set of these, I would encourage you to go ahead and cut all the strips out at first and get that out of the way. And then all you're doing is sewing the bag, or bags, plural. I don't know how much of the dark blue or the white I started with. I know I pulled out some more white today because when I finished up the mini bag, it was the white. There wasn't enough of the white left to make the medium bag. I knew there wasn't. So I grabbed some more bright white, which I had. But it's a nice little set, and if I can pull off with the scraps, if I can pull off making like a wallet or something like that to go with it, that'll be even cuter. Because everybody likes a matching set of things. All right, the bicycle fabric is directional, so I always have to remember that the bicycle fabric goes, you have to make sure it goes up and down. Otherwise, the seats would look funny. Now, the bicycles do go in all different directions, but I'm just making sure everything's facing the same way. All right, 2 more. And of course, for those of you that have watched me, you know it's going to take me a while to figure out which order I want the strips to be in too. So that's a coming adventure. Alright, I still have 3 more of these strips to go. Now I should end up with 2 strips of every design, pattern, fabric, whatever. It's what I ended up with on the mini bag. I made the front and back, or side A, side B. I decided that they're really, you know, with these there's no closure, there's no logo, there's nothing. So it's really just a side A and side B. They're both the same. I put the strips all in the exact same order. In the big bag, I didn't do that. I sort of shook them up a little bit and made them in different designs. I'm not certain which way I'm going to go with this. I'm leaning towards not having them the same. But when I have 2 of every fabric, my brain typically does that. So I kind of have no choice. It just goes there and is like, oh yeah, that looks nice. I don't randomize as well as I should. All right, one more in this batch. And just because I'm weird, I'm probably going to keep this little stash that's all stuck together. Might be able to use those as tabs or something. Now that I'm on this wallet idea, I'm going to be stuck on it all night. And instead of working on my crocheting project that I should be working on, I will probably end up designing the wallet. Because like I said, I'm fairly confident I will not finish this bag today. I finished the mini bag in one 4-hour session. But the strips were already cut. And it is smaller. So this doesn't take as long to put it together. These dots are hard to see which side's the right side and which side's the wrong side. They're very, very close. All right, 18, 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16. 16. I knew that. 16, not 18. All right, now you guys. I want to keep as much as I can of these strips intact. So I am just going to do what I've done with those. Okay, match it all up. There we go. Cut off the selvage. Turn it around. And 12.5 inches. Okay. 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. And now I have these nice strips left over that are still 2.5 inches wide. I have all of these little baubles. I have my little 1-inch strips. And I have these that are also 2.5 inches wide, but not quite. They're like 12 inches or something like that. So those are all my leftover strip products. Let's move them off of here and over by the strips. Like I said, I'm sure I'll be spending quite a bit of time this evening thinking in my head how I can use those to make like a wallet or a, even, I might even do maybe a cell phone case. That would be another good use for a crossbody strap. I gotta stop thinking about that now. I have something to do. All right, now all of these need to be cut to 2 inches wide instead of 2.5 inches wide. So I don't know if you know this or not, but if you iron fabric together, it stays together. It doesn't slip as much. And my iron is not hot. Give it a minute. Let me get my water while it warms up. Oh, I'm out of water. Let me fill up my cup. All right, we are back. Sounds like the iron is heating up nicely. Excellent. There we go. All right. Let's get a few more strips on top. There we go. And we will cut them to 2 inches wide. That is what it says. That is what it says. All right, 1/2 inch strips do us no good. Keep in mind we use 1/4 inch seams. So 2 1/4 inch seams equals 1/2 inch. This will do us absolutely no good. Do not keep it, throw it away. All right, next stack. Okay. Stack number 2. Cut 2 inches wide. Throw away. Do not keep. I know it's so sad to throw away fabric. But I think we have enough of this kind. We're going to be good. I turned it because I thought that there was more fuzz strings hanging off of the one side than the other, but really this strip has a whole bunch of strings hanging off of it. So all right, last set of 4. And also, depending upon the newness of your blade, my rotary cutter blade, I know, is not the newest thing in the world. It's by no means dead, not usable. It cuts just fine regular. But you can get, I think I've gotten up to like 16 layers of fabric with a new rotary cutter blade. This one, like I said, I know for a fact that this one is well used. I actually want to say it's probably been 6 months since I changed it. And the number of months is irrelevant. It's how much you've used it. And during that time, I've used it a lot. But I have not used it for thicker fabrics or stuff that gets sticky on it. I've got some cheap rotary cutters over there that I use for that, because the blade for this one is much more expensive than the other ones. Now, I will be needing that again later, so I'm just setting it off to the side, as well as this. But I want to get the fabric up here first. All right, so this is light fabric. This is medium fabric. And this is dark fabric. Come back up. All right, the bicycles are light fabric, but they're also green, so we're going to set them in kind of a different stack. This is light. This is light. This is dark. Oh, we've hit that portion. Are you the same as that one? You are. So we have 4 strips that are the same pattern. And dark. And I'm going to call this green medium because it's not a real deep green, but it is a deep, it's there. All right. So now I need to figure out how to put them on the wall. Let's start with this strip because we have 4 of these. So we need to space these out. And I kind of want a green next to it just to get it going. Maybe not. There's too much green already in it. Let's throw a dark strip right next to it. There we go. And now let's do that. Get some more green going. And the flower. Just to connect a little bit. No, not ready for the green yet. Let's throw this back in here. Just because we can. Nope. Let's put the really bright white one. They go together. These are the same patterns, just on different colors. So I'm not certain I like that. I don't like that. I don't like that. I like where I was going, my thought process was, but I don't like the way that looks. All right, let's do that. Alright, so I need dark again. Da, da, da. Ooh, this didn't work out. No. No. Oh, let's see. That's not going to work. That's not going to work. This one. All right, step back and look. Ooh, looking in the screen. I see all darks on the right and all light on the left. Keeping in mind the bag's going to go in a circle, so if I did that and this, how's that? Does that look better? It spaces out the blue. I still don't like those three on the left together. But I don't see any lights that I can replace it with. So we're going to go with this. Now the bicycle's on. Yeah, I don't like that. Hold on. Let's move this over here. So these will still connect to each other at some point, and I'm okay with that, with these two. But I don't want them on the same side. All right, I like that better. So the bicycle, the green bicycle and the blue dot will connect. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. This will be either the front or the back, so it's where the two sides meet. On here, I knew I'd bring this out for something. Two sides meet here and here, so they will be together at one point. Also, the medium bag has a taper, so it is going to be wider at the top and narrower at the bottom. So the strips that these two and then these two will not be seen as much. They're going to taper down. So I think I like this. This works for me. I'm going to let it sit and ruminate. We are going to go ahead and make the strips, or the shoulder straps. So we've got those cut out. That's the first thing for the cutting chart. We did that, figured out where the colors go, all that good stuff. Next thing we need is a bottom piece that's 8.5 by 15.5. All right, let's see, what do we have left to here? Those are little. How wide is this? This is only 7.5 inches wide. I might be able to get a handle out of this. I don't think I can get both, because they're going to be how long? 24. Nah, I'm only going to be able to get one, but get a handle out of it. There's that. Okay. So 8.5 inches wide. So I'm doing it 8.5 inches wide and tearing it. And then I can use some of it as the handle. Shoulder strap, handle, whatever you want to call it. So that's going to be a handle. There we go. Still have a decent amount of this left too that I can use in the wallet or the whatever I end up deciding to make. Okay, and then I need 8.5 by 15.5. Let's tear about there. There we go. So I tore this fabric bigger than I need it so that I can cut it to the correct size. And then these we're going to need in a minute when I make the handles. All right. So extra strings out of the way. Fold it in half so that I can cut it to the 8 inches wide that it wants. I have a kitty cat by my feet. Hold on just a second. Hey, babe. Hey, babe. That's my good baby. Okay. Good girl. Careful. Careful down there. All right. So now I am going to trim off the stuff I tore as close to the tear as I can, so getting off the least amount as possible. And then I need 8.5 inches wide. So I pull out my other ruler and I measure to 8.5 inches. And I take this ruler and I butt them up together, making sure that it is even on the fold. And there we go. We now have 8.5 inches. We also have a kitty cat, in case you didn't notice. You good girl? Gonna lay down in your box? All right, so now that we have 2 straight ends, I'm gonna iron again, which is going to attract the attention of the kitty cat. Hi, babe. She's gonna sit in her window and watch outside. Watch the world go by. The crease I put in did not want to go away. It just wants to stay there and be happy. I'm like, no. All right, now we go back over here. And we're going to trim off the torn edge again. Oops. So match up top and bottom, make sure totally square. And this way is 15.5 inches. So again, big ruler, 15.5 inches wide. Butt it up. Do not line it up on the selvage. You want to make sure you line it up on the top and the bottom because you want it square. And the selvage may or may not be going correctly with the grain. Move the second ruler out of the way and cut off the selvage. And now we have the bottom of the bag, which will eventually fit. So keep in mind, this is one side of the bag, so from here over. But there's a ½ inch taken away, or ½ inch from each strip is taken away because there's a ½ inch on either side. Well, not a half. There's only ½ inch on either side of that. Oh wow, I didn't notice they had those on. I'm not going to worry about it. So these will get closer together once we sew them, and then this will be the bottom of the bag, and then that will be the other side of the bag. All right, so now I need two 6.5 by 24 inch pieces for the handles. And these are 7.5. This is 7.5. Now I have, no, I don't have anything that's 24 inches. All right. So we're going to fold this over so it is just over 12 inches. Because it is torn on either side, so that's, I know my grain's going the right way, so that's good. Go. And like I said, I'm going to press it so that it's just over 12 inches long because I need 24. Verifying, yes. So at the fold, 12 inches from the fold, that'll give us 24 total. Let's make sure that we have this all on grain. Take the big ruler, 12 inches, match this up, and in this case we're using the fold as the grain driver because both edges are torn. So you're not going to be able to do anything there. You want to just make sure you have your fold straight. This is a strip of garbage. We're not keeping that. This we may find a use for later on. Once the project is over, it goes in the garbage. All right, so now we need to trim it down to 6.5 inches because it's 7.5 right now. And I don't have a ruler that's wide enough and long enough. So this one's going to be used to trim off this torn fabric. So again, we get as close as we can. Just a little bit. And then we take this. We go to 6.5, And we look again and make sure, yes, 6.5 is correct. And this time we have to line it up both on the fold and on the edge. And the top too, actually. Top works out well because it's 12 inches and the ruler's long enough. Okay. This is not wide enough to do anything with. Throw it in the garbage. We have handle number 1. Now we have this piece, and we're going to do the exact same thing to this piece. Line it up. Get rid of the extra strings that have decided to pop up. There we go. All right. Fold over so that the fold is at 12 inches and the edge is slightly off from 1. Excellent. And iron. All right. We have another fold that does not want to loosen, so we use water. We scare the living daylights out of the kitty cat that's sitting in the window because she's like, ah, water. I'm not going to spray you, kitty. You're fine. If you do something wrong, I'll spray you, but you're not doing anything wrong. You're just sitting in the window. All right. I've got starch and Best Press back there, and I could use those, but I just find that the water, when it comes to taking out a pressed seam, the water seems to work better. I don't know why. Honestly, don't know why. Okay, now from the fold, we measure 12 inches. Keep it straight. Cut. Little itty bitty strip, throw it in the garbage. This is tiny. What do we have? We have 2 inches from the salvage. Could be used for a border or something, we'll see. I know, I'm terrible. Not supposed to keep these things, but I do. I will throw them away after the project, though. It's just because I have an idea for some smaller stuff that I want to keep it for the time being. I will throw it away after I get done with this project. All right, and this is 6.5 inches. Let's trim off the torn edge on this side. And bring back the big ruler and do 6.5 inches. Line it up on the fold, line it up on the cut, all right, and then this is 2.5 inches wide, so again, setting it over here because we may need it. All right, handle number 2. Cutting is good. All right. Lining. Lining is the white fabric. And this is what I have left of the white fabric. That piece and these 2 pieces. That's what I started with. The lining is supposed to be the width of the fabric and 15.5 inches wide. Let's see, how wide is this? This is only 10 inches wide. So I will not be able to use in the medium bag anymore the white that I started with. But as any good sewer has, I have more off-white. It's very, very wrinkled. I don't know if it was washed. I don't typically wash my fabric, but it's very wrinkled. And I could put something else on the inside, but I want these 3 bags to match, be cohesive. So I'm going to use this white, and they want it 15.5 inches wide. Right? Yes, 15.5. And since one side is already torn, I'm going to tear it on the other side at 15.5 inches because I know they will. That's the width I want it to be. And so now this is the extra of my new white fabric. It's a nice size to make interior pockets. Nice width for that. And as I've done with the other 2 bags, I will set this over here by the iron until we are ready to use it, because we will not be using the whole width of fabric. We will cut it down once we find out how big the bag actually turns out to be. Alright. And fold. And you go over here until we are ready for you. Alright, fleece. Now this is where we've done it before. I've actually done the math, because the fleece is not cheap. I hate wasting it. So it says 10.5 inches wide by width of fabric, but it's not going to be that. So it's going to be 6.5 inches and 6.5 inches, which is 13 inches, plus the bottom is going to be 7. So it's going to be 20 inches. So the interfacing, or fleece, needs to be 10.5. I'm going to go with 20. Oops. No, I was working off the wrong thing. I was working off the mini. Oops, hold on. Try this again. All right, so the bag trim is 11.5 times 2, which is 22, is 23 inches. And it is 8 inches. So 31, 15.5 by 31. And it's going to be the same thing here. And I can always trim that up a little bit because as we did in the mini bag, I kind of like the fact that I pull in the fleece and the interfacing off the seams a bit. They don't do that, and I'm again trying to make this as they designed it, but I might do it a little bit shorter depending. All right, depending on how much I have here to work with. So out of my bag, I have 2 squares. I remember those from the mini bag episode. This one, these are too short, so that's not going to work. All right, so now we have the big piece still remaining, and it's wide and long. That's good. Folded in half, it's 29 inches, so I'm going to get my straps out of it without any problem, because I need 31 inches for my bag. All right, let's see here. You go over here. Let's move my cutting board a little bit. So I have a tape measure attached to the bottom, the edge of my table. And I am going to use that for my 31 inches. I'm lining that up. There we go. All right, so from the edge of the table, I need the longer ruler. I need things out of my way. 31 inches. I didn't check to make sure it's wide enough. I should do that first. It is, all right, so here we're going to go with, this is one of those things I'm going to do. It is almost 15.5 inches wide. Just a touch under, and I'm okay with that. Because again, I don't like having all that bulk in the seams anyway. But, all right, and then I did, what did I, 31. Go back to 31. There it is. All right. So the bag itself is going to be strips, bottom, strips. And that's going to be a little bit too narrow and a little bit too short. Actually, it's probably going to be a couple inches too short. But when I cut it and trim it, it'll all fit. Then I need 2 strips that are 6.5 by 24. Do we have 24 left? We definitely do. I figured we did. All right. Again, move things off to the side. I'm going to use my ruler on the bottom. Oops, that's not going to work. Shift that all up. There we go. That goes there. And now we can fold this in half, because we know both sides are even. cut them both square. Can we use a little ruler? Yes, we can. Excellent. Line up on the edge is just a little bit wonky, so I'm going to line it up and trim off just a little piece of it. And 6.5 inches. Yes, 6.5 inches. And we have our two handles. There we go. And let's see, what else do we need? Last but not least, interfacing. And I am going to do the same thing I did here, 15.5 by 31. I know that neither of these are going to work. Oh, wait. No. I thought I had a big piece left over somewhere. Apparently I was wrong. I must have had it left over from the big bag and I used it in the mini bag. There we go. Or I'm just losing my mind and I put it somewhere else and I don't know where I put it, which is also quite possible. Okay. 15.5 inches wide. So this is what's left of a bag of fusible fleece. And it was 45 by 60 inches wide. I don't remember how much it costs. I know it's not the cheapest thing in the world. So I try and use it as sparingly as possible. But I don't know. All right. There's that. Let's put the scraps back so I don't forget them. And 31 is there. So, as I mentioned in prior parts to this, the interfacing and the batting size is not vital to the world. It is all going to be trimmed down. So if it's a little big, that's fine. If it's a little small, that's good too, because that way it's not in the seams. It looks like my tissues have arrived. What do you say, Callie? Is that a happy thing, huh, girl? She's watching, waiting to see what comes out of that truck. course, I'm doing the same thing, so what does that make me? Oops! Fell down. Let's see. Can we get it to stick over on that side? Not completely. Hopefully it'll stay. All right. So we have all of the cutting done. Later on, we're going to trim the bag, we're going to cut the bottom corners, and we're going to cut the side trim and taper it in. So the first thing it says to do is to make the handles. We talked about this yesterday, or in part 3. I had to remember what part I was on. Most bag patterns say to make the handles first. I've heard the logic being that way you feel more accomplished. I missed what he took in. I'm assuming it was the boxed order. But anyway, the logic I've heard is that if you make the handles first and get them out of the way, then when you get to the point where you're putting them on the bag, you feel more accomplished. Because if you have to make the handles, it's kind of like you stop making the bag to make an accessory. I don't necessarily agree with that theory, but it's the theory that's out there. And that's why most patterns you find, you're going to find them to make the handles first. So, you know what? We'll go ahead. We'll make the handles first, just like we did with the mini bag. With the large bag, I didn't. With the large bag, I made the handles later. But with the mini bag, I did make them first. So I'm going to go ahead and do that again. Just because, why not? So the first thing you have to do, we're going to need clips. And we're going to need one piece of fleece, fusible fleece. So one side is soft, one side's a little scratchy. Turn it so that the scratchy side is up. And then take your handle fabric. If your handle fabric has a pattern on it, put the pattern facing up. If your pattern fabric is just like mine and solid, don't worry about it. There is no right side and wrong side. There is technically, but I can never tell the difference, so. And I don't think anybody else could either. So on the handles, I like having the fleece the same size. I say that, and I think yesterday I didn't say that, but I do prefer them the same size because it's all going to be one big piece. Now, it could be shorter so that the fleece is not in the seam when you're attaching it to the purse. So it could be in 1/4 inch plus 1/4 inch because you push it over. So 1/2 inch on each side, which means it could be an inch shorter, and it wouldn't bother me. Again, that is a adaptation to the pattern that I'm not going to make right now, but I do think I'm going to make one of these bags with my modifications, just to see how much of a difference it makes. So you hold it in place for 10 seconds, and you can just move it. I picked it up. You don't have to do that. I did it just because I did it, and I'm not certain why I did it. It was just one of those things I did. So the D-rings I have are narrower than the handles that this pattern calls for. And when I look at the mini bag, I can definitely, the mini bag is narrower anyway, they might fit. But the big bag has a much wider handle, and I don't know if I like it that way. I'm almost wondering if it wouldn't be better to put the handle going all the way down the bag. Nah, it wouldn't look the same. It wouldn't look the same. I like it where it comes out. That's, yeah. Again, I haven't decided which size bag I'm going to make in a different size, or in a different, I'm going to style up anyway. But we have enough. I'm definitely going to make an accessory. So part 5 is going to be finishing up this bag, because I just know I'm not going to get this one done. But it's only going to be a little bit from being done. So I will finish up this bag in part 5, and I will make an accessory of some kind. Like a wallet, cell phone case, maybe both. I don't think I'd have enough time. I guess I could do a part 6 and do that. Then I will take these patterns and I will decide how to add embellishments to them to make them nicer than they are. That's not on enough. I thought I had that sitting there long enough. Apparently I was wrong. With some rivets. So in addition to the feet, putting rivets on, some D-rings, or some the rectangle ones. I can't remember what they don't have a name necessarily. Maybe a key strap, because nobody really takes their key out of their purse anymore, but you need it, you need it. All right, so the first thing you do is you fold it in half lengthwise. So we were there, oops. We were like this, fold it in half. When you fold it in half, you want to press it. We're not going to press it any other time, but you need to get a center seam in here so you know where to fold to do the next folds. So now we have a seam. We fold this up, and I always start in the middle to the seam. And the mini bag, I was able to use 3 clips. I think I'm going to need 5 here, just to hold everything together. So we folded 1/2 towards the center, and we do the same thing here on the other side, and then match them up. And now you have a strap, and it's ready to be sewn. We do the same thing with the other strap, or handle. They call it a handle. Fuzzy side up, sticky side technically. And now we press again. Oh, in the last episode, I had to wear a big fluffy sweatshirt because it was cold in here. We have turned on the heater. It's been on since yesterday now. It was later in the day. It was like, well, might have been midday when we actually broke down and turned it on. We turned it on the day before, but it was only on for a couple hours and just to keep the heat in. But we actually have had it running all night now, so it's officially cold. The temperature outside right now here in Central Florida is 53 degrees. Actually, I think it says, yeah, it just says 53. So it is what we consider here to be cold. But because the heater's on, I was able to wear regular clothes instead of bundling up in the winter garb. I have a very comfy kitty sitting here. She's just sort of hanging out. Looking out the window, making sure everything's okay. I haven't seen the obnoxious birds that hang around, so she's not looking at them today. Usually that's what she's gawking at, is the sand cranes. That's what they're called, sand cranes. Nope, she's turning her head upside down. She's going to sleep. No more staring out the window. We're done with that. Okay, now we fold it in half and press it this way. You okay, big girl? What's wrong? Okay, sweetie. Just take a nap then. And start in the middle. Go to one side. And then the other side. And now we're going to fold the other side together and match it up. All right. And we have our second handle. Now we're ready to sew them up. So on the other size bags, I've had the walking foot on. I'm going to see how this turns out without the walking foot on. Because the mini bag, I had no problems just using a regular foot. So I'm going to see if I can do that again. But I did use the walking foot on the handles because it was on here when I started. I'm going to leave it at 2.5. I I did that on the mini bag and I like the way it came out, so. I am stitching 1/4 inch from the edge, and I am doing the side that's got the 2 pieces meeting first. There are other people that do the folded edge first. I like to do this side first to try and match them up as best I can. And then when I do the other side, I just keep it taut so that the fold gets as folded as best as it can. And I am using a blue, dark navy blue thread. You can use a contrasting color if you choose. I said on one of them, I've got this gold. That would look kind of cute. You can't use the gold on both the top and the bobbin, so you'd have to decide which side was going to be the top and which side was going to be the bottom of your handle. When you do this stitching, you need to make sure that so the beginning stitching, the stitching that I'm doing now, pretty much I always do in the thread that's the matching thread. If you want to do a decorative stitch down the center, that would be a whole different issue. Then you could do whatever you want. So now there's room in the middle here to do a designer stitch, a decorative stitch. You could do a zigzag. This machine has a whole bunch of different decorative stitches. You could use a different thread. You could still use the same thread and have it look the same. I'm going to leave it plain. I'm going to go with the basics. And I'm not going to stitch anymore. On the large bag, I put, I think, two more seams down the middle. The mini bag, I did not put any. I just went with the 2, and that was because it was so narrow. This one, I'm leaving with just the 2 seams because I think it's going to look nicer. I don't know. I'm not doing anything just 'cause. There we go. How's that for a reason? Just 'cause. Strap number 2. Handle, strap, whatever. Tablet's died again. Wake up, tablet. There we go. You all still here? Yes, you're all still here. All right, but you can't see me because I need to push. There we go. All right, handles are made. Now it does say, and I didn't notice this until just now, trim handle to 22 inches. I did not trim either of the other 2 bags. This one is 24 inches, which makes sense because that's what I cut it to. Duh. The large I cut to 22, and it says I should have trimmed it down to 20, and I didn't. And the mini was 12, and it was supposed to be cut down to 10.5 because I didn't read the directions properly. So the bags are messed up as far as handle length goes. Oh well. I'm not taking them apart to fix it now. So when it comes to patterns like this, I will take them and then I will write things down on them. So that's what I'm going to do right now. I'm going to circle the part where it says trim. I didn't do this. And that way, when I go back and look at the pattern to make modifications, I can be like, well, I like the handles the length I had them, not what they had them. So we'll see. Handles are done. Pockets we're not doing. Outer bag. So now we have to put our fabrics together. I am going to continue to piece with the blue 50 weight polyester fabric, or cotton, or thread. 50 weight polyester thread. Normally when I do piecing, I piece with 60 weight cotton thread. The reason I'm not worrying about this is because the fusible fleece is 100% acrylic. So there's no reason to use cotton thread. Cotton thread costs more than polyester thread. So it would be wasting something that's more expensive for no good reason, using something that for no good reason. And the polyester thread is actually stronger than the cotton thread. So the reason I have the polyester is for doing things like bags, which I do like to make bags. I have plenty of them around, and I use them for multiple different projects and things like that. So I am not going to change my thread. I'm leaving it on just as it is. And if you've watched anything else I've done, you know that when I piece, I normally piece with cotton thread, but in this case, there's no reason for it. There's just, it would be a waste of perfectly good thread and or money. And like I said, I've been trying to figure out these 3 bags, cost-wise, all 3 of them together, I think my total outlay, even though I already have the thread and stuff like that, I have stuff that I'm using. Total outlay is maybe $50. When I say the fusible fleece is expensive, it made 3 bags, and I think it's like $30. It's the highest cost involved here. Well, that's not true. No, the jelly roll would be about $40 to $60, depending. This particular one I received from a collection from someone who's no longer sewing. So therefore, I did not pay for it. But a jelly roll of that size would be anywhere between $40 and $60. And then the fusible fleece, $30. The interfacing, maybe $3, $4 for what I've got. I mean, I've got a bolt that I play off of. But you're talking somewhere around maybe $50 or $60. Well, no, the jelly rolls, no, it's only half of it. I'm only using half of it. So that would be 30. So yeah, we're talking somewhere around $50 or $60 cost-wise. If you look online, you can probably sell a set for $120. I forgot about the blue and the white fabric, but either way, we're probably maybe maximum $70. You could probably double what you paid by selling it. So if that's something you're thinking about, keep that in mind. You've got to take into account all the different things you're using, and you do want to think about your time. But in my case, I am also live streaming for everyone to watch and see how things get done. I'm not making any money off of that either, but you know, don't forget to like, subscribe, all that good stuff. But let's get our strips sewn together. So here's our first set of strips. Let's do that there. And let me gather the second set of 10. All right, there's our second set. So on the mini bag, I did not drop my stitch length. I am going to drop my stitch length on this one. I just was not as thrilled with the way it looked put together. So I'm going to drop it back down so that it's a little less obvious that there's a seam there. Oh, I need starter fabric. One, two, three, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and 9. Alright. And why do we use this piece of fabric? We use the starter fabric, feeder fabric, whichever one I use, because you want your threads to start right at the beginning. And if you did not have something up there, you would start your stitching somewhere lower, so somewhere down about there. And that does not work. You need it all stitched up. So that's why you use starter fabric. This is always the tricky part. Make sure you pull back so that the top is at the top. You open up pieces 1 and 2, strips 1 and 2. Take your third one and make sure you fold it over number 2. I cannot tell you how many times I have gotten things upside down and backwards, and then the pattern I designed does not work because it's no longer there. I've turned it into something different. And then I get mad at myself because I don't like the way it looks. So make sure you do. And after the third one, you're good. It's the first 2 that are always, did I get them in the right order? Did I face them right way up? All that good stuff. So remember, these strips we trimmed down to 2 inches, so they are going to finish at 1.5 inches wide. So they're going to be narrower by a little bit than the ones on the big bag. Yep. We didn't get too far down. I'll go ahead and stop there. Normally you see me fuss and go longer and try and get it to last longer, but we're close enough. Bobbin's out. Let's fill up the bobbin. Alright, so the first thing I need to do is make sure I turn the speed down. I usually turn it down 2 because I don't like it to go too fast. And if you have it on top speed, on almost every machine I've ever seen, if you have it on top speed, it will warp the bobbin and make the bobbin not want to come off of the winder. So you always want to turn down your speed on any machine you have. Oh, and not every machine can wind from the needle like mine can. This has got a couple of nice pieces here of of metal to keep the thread from getting caught on the plastic. And if it gets caught on the plastic, it could get frayed a little bit and then it won't work right and just bad. So unless your machine says you can wind from the needle, don't do it. All right, let's go back here and start again. I'm going to try and start right where it ended. Yeah, that's good. Because I don't want extra thread in my seam. That would just make it puck or bubble. It would get bulky and have a bump there. Bump. That's the word I wanted, not pucker, bump. Almost done with this side. Alright. So, side A. All nice and stripped together. I'm still wondering why I picked the same pattern fabric on either side, but hey, off to the side it goes. Now we need 9 more starter fabric. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and 9. Alrighty. Here's our side B. Starter fabric. Bing! Alright, piece 1. And piece 2. Fold it over. Okay. Piece number 3. Oh, joining strips can be tedious. But hey, it's also not complicated. And if you're just learning how to sew or quilt, this is a nice way to get started. All right, last strip. All right, strips are done. Woohoo! Excellent. Oh, golly. That was challenging getting out of that chair. Whew. I'd been sitting for so long. All right, so now, excuse me. So my machine cuts my threads when I push the button. So I've cut those off. I call them tails. And then all of our starter fabric needs to be cut off. Oops. And now we can press our fabric. So this was challenging with the large bag. I don't know, when it wasn't that bad with the small bag. This medium, we'll have to find out. It's not going to fit on the ironing board completely. So I'm going to have to do it in stages. I'm going to start in the middle. And I press it down, and I'm pressing all of the seams the same way. So I'm just going this way, and I'm pulling this out, pulling this side out so it's tight as I press them. And this is kind of like finger pressing at this point. I'm just sort of going over them, and since my iron does not stay hot the whole time, it's kind of cooled down a little bit and it's not quite as hot as it normally would be. So going across, and that kind of got them all folded or leaning. You know how you see trees or leaves in the wind blow? I got them all blowing the same direction. And now I'm going to let that warm up just a little bit more while I grab some water. I noticed yesterday when I was doing the mini bag and I was putting the feet in, I've got a little cutter that cuts circles. And I didn't know if the self-healing mat was going to heal properly because it had a little bit of an indent in it, and that was bothering me. It seems to be okay. All right, so again, taunt on this side. And something else. My tape measure was bouncing around. Alright, there we go. Let's go through the middle again a little bit. Now that we have more heat. Alright, and now the bottom. Wow, that went much nicer than either of the two other sizes did. Everybody agreed, laid the same way. Wow. Apparently I just am well practiced or something. I don't know. But that turned out really nice. Alright, this is going to be side B. So turn it this way. Look at that, side to side. Just what we needed it to be. Excellent. Now, side A. Talia, what you doing? Hey, little girl. Talia. Second cat's wandering around. She's up to something. I can hear her. Okay, down the center we go. Ah, rotary cutter. That's the other thing that was making noise. It's like everything else has a flat surface. Why are we rattling? The rotary cutter does not normally sit on this table. All right. Now, top. Bottom. Over. All right. And bicycles go upright, so they go like that. And that's going to be our medium bag. So I need 2 clips so I don't mess up which direction the fabrics go. That way, flip it down, and that goes this way, and interfacing. Just get out of my way. All right, over to the sewing machine. So I like to sew on the side that has no seams. Just makes me happy. I feel like the line's straighter. Because the side of the fabric that we cut is there. So we don't have to worry about messing up or not going straight. So blue fabric, bottom fabric on top. Square it up with the edge. And start sewing a little bit. if you would like, you can pin all of this together. That's a perfectly acceptable idea. I am not going to do that. I am going to sew. So now my seams are pressed going the opposite direction. I want to make sure they all lay the way I set them. And I'm following the straight edge of the bottom fabric. I'm not following the slightly jagged edge of the pieced strips. And just again, make sure all of the seams keep going the same way. I'm going to do the exact same thing on the other side. So we're attaching the other set of strips to the other side of the bottom. Let me get my clip. Or all of a sudden it will become a cat toy flying around the room. And again, straight on the edge. Voila. Top and bottom. Well, tops and bottoms. Bottom. Tops, strips, bottom, singular. Right. And the directions do say to press towards the bottom fabric. I would do that anyway, because I always press to the side that has the least amount of seams on it. And since the other pieces have 9 seams, because there's 10 strips joined together, it only makes sense to press to the side that has no seams whatsoever, which is the bottom. Okay. Now we have our top, our bottom, and our top. However you want to look at that. So now we need to join it to our fusible fleece. During bag 2, or the mini bag, I pressed on my board and it got warm. And I don't want to do that again. But the table will be fine. I just don't want to warp my board. So, down goes my fusible interfacing, or fusible fleece, with the soft side facing down and the rough side facing up. Right side up on top of the fusible interfacing. And I do have less interfacing than I have fabric, which I knew that was going to happen. So you kind of want to space it out. If that happens to you, you want to space it out a little bit so that you have a little bit of fabric hanging over on one side and a little bit hanging over on the other side. That's a little bit more. So let's shift. Yeah, that's about even. So we are going to be cutting off the edges. The directions say that, and I did that. I don't think I did it on the bit large bag, now that I say that. It wasn't that much of a difference, though. I might have. I don't remember. All right, so we take our hot iron, and we press in the middle. We want to start in the middle and work our way out. That way we can smooth out the cotton fabric as we adhere it to the fusible fleece. You don't want wrinkles or bubbles or pops or anything like that. So you want to make sure that you smooth out the fabric as you go, and you start in the middle and work out. So in the middle, I'm now going up. I'm going to go back to the middle and work my way down and get the whole bottom of the bag attached. Now if you're doing this on a dining room table, then you can't do this because you'll need to do it on your ironing board. You could warp the wood. This is a special, I mean, it's still not a great idea to do what I'm doing, but it's not going to hurt my table that badly. I'm okay with it. But if it's a table that you're concerned about, put down like extra padding. Batting would work. That batting is in here. You just don't want that heat to get down to your table and warp it. Or in this case, I didn't want it to get to my healing mat. And then remember, this is about 10 seconds. And now we're going to start going out onto the strips and making sure that they adhere to the fusible batting, or fusible fleece. Fusible fleece. I don't know why I can't get that down. If you want, you don't need to use fusible fleece. You can use regular batting. I am using the fusible fleece because that's what it calls for. Also, I am using really thick interfacing. I'm using, what is it called? Decor Bond. Pellon 809, which is used in a lot of bags. Gives them a nice structure. That's why my bags stood up. The large one and the mini one stand up nicely because they've got a really nice, thick interfacing. I have a softer interfacing, and then, like I said, you can use regular batting. You don't have to use the fusible fleece. This whole thing, because it has, I'm putting the feet on it, but those are my preference. As the bag is designed, if you don't use the fusible fleece, you use cotton batting, and you skip the interfacing, it could be 100% cotton product. If you use cotton thread, the whole thing. As it is, it should be washable. It is fabric after all, and fusible fleece is washable also. Interfacing is also washable. After years and years and years of washing over and over and over again, interfacing can wear out. But that's not something that a purse is typically going to experience. I've got some shirts that I made for Steve with collars that are very stiff. And the interfacing there I guess it wears out because it doesn't really go anywhere, but it doesn't perform as well as when it was initially installed in the shirt, when the shirt was made. All right, let's see how we did. Are we attached over here? Yeah, a little bit not. We're good. We're good. All right. Now we turn it over so that the soft side of the fusible fleece is facing up. And we get our interfacing, and we line it up. And now we're going to do the exact same thing with the interfacing. When I did the first bag, the large bag, I was afraid that the interfacing wouldn't stick because some interfacing needs water in order to cause it to adhere. This isn't the case. It works. I was very happy when I was able to just press this on and all was right with the world. Now you notice we did not use interfacing in the handles. The handles just have the fusible fleece. And again, if you don't have fusible fleece, you can use regular batting for your handles. And I would think regular batting might be cheaper because you get more of it for a similar price. So in the long run, it would be cheaper. But then you have to do the pinning and the whole bit, and I don't know. Well, I'm trying to think. Since we're using the interfacing, you could still iron the interfacing onto the batting, but the batting wouldn't stick to the bag piece. That you would have to pin on, which means you would put pins through the interfacing, which at certain points would weaken it. No, it wouldn't, because when you sew, we're going to quilt over there, and it doesn't matter. The interfacing is still fine. So no, you can put pins in it. Yeah, that would all work. Now the interfacing, if you wanted it stiff and you wanted to use the interfacing, again, you're not going to have 100% cotton product, but that's no big deal. If it doesn't matter to you, it's no big deal. Yeah, I'm thinking that the other bags, I'm not going to do the swoosh on the outsides of the, so let's see. You can't see that very well. There's a swoosh over here and a swoosh over here, and there's one in the middle. I'm thinking I'm keeping the one in the middle. I'm going to get rid of the ones on the sides when I make my own version of this. I'll keep going round and round whether I want to use the other half of this jelly roll, or if I want to use, I've got another half of a different jelly roll over there. I think I have 3 or 4 more jelly rolls. I know I have a Christmas jelly roll, but it's January. Who wants to make Christmas stuff? I'll make that in July. So on the big bag, I did a stitch in the ditch, and then I did one up the middle of all of the stripes. On the mini bag, all I did was on the stripes, or all I did was in stitch in the ditch. I think I might do that here too. I don't see any real reason to put one in the middle. So that means they'll be 1.5 inches apart. So I'll make the strips on the bottom of the bag 1.5 inches apart. So on the mini bag, there was no quilting on the bottom. On the big bag, the large bag, there was a couple of rows of stitching on the bottom. We'll have to see how this one turns out. All right. Let's go over to the sewing machine and start our quilting. Now, you can switch to your walking foot and put on a quilting needle. That would all be perfectly fine. All I'm going to do is change it to a longer sewing stitch and leave it as is. I'm going, being a radical here. Where is my little doohickey? There's my little doohickey. Okay, let's verify the distance. Come here. There we go. The distance between the stitch and the ditch is, yep, 1.5. That's what it should be. I'm happy. So now we're going to make the distance 1.5. There we go. And we stitch. Let's do one more, and then we'll switch to the other side. Alright, stitch in the ditch. I want some added pretty. So let's see. This says it's going to have a box corner of 3 inches. Oh, it's the same size as the large bag. That's interesting. All right. So 3 inches. Okay, 3 inches would be, where's my tape measure? There it is. I was going to put some extra bling on the bottom, but I'm just going to go with this. It'll be fine. All right, you need to come out of there because I'm not going to use you anymore. You'll just get in my way. All right, let's do all the strips now. other side. Alright, last stitch. Excellent. Now we need to trim off all the little pieces. I'll bring back my cutting mat. So we are going to need that in a few minutes. And I've got fuzzies. all of these strips have thread hanging off of them. These sides are going to get trimmed. I forgot. Oh well. All right, and I am not going to do anything with the ends because we're going to cut them off right now. So according to this, as I said earlier, the quilted bag trim should be 11.5 inches after quilting. It's very important to do this after quilting because when you quilt stuff, and there's a piece there, it kind of indents it a little bit, and sometimes it can make it smaller. So you do not want to cut these to their final size until after you've quilted. Just like with the handles that I didn't read about. You don't want to cut them until you get them quilted. And in this case, quilting was just a couple strips, but it was still technically quilting. All right, and this is supposed to be 11.5 inches. And that is not long enough, so we're going to be doing this 11.5. So from stay put. There you go. So from the edge of the blue, which is the bottom, I line up 11.5 inches here, and then I match up my ruler, and I'm going to use the seams of the strips as my square up point. Get it out of the way. And trim it down to 11.5 inches. Then we rotate the bag and do the same thing again. That's why I don't care about all, you can't see them. I don't care there's a bunch of little strings hanging off because I'm going to cut this all off anyway. So 11.5. Making sure it's lined up with the seam. Match it up and make sure it's lined up with the seams from the strips. And now we have it squared up. There's some spots over here that are wide and stuff like that. That's fine, because now we're going to add the angle in. So let's put you back here and put you back over there so you're nice and high up and you've got a nice eagle eye. So we're matching up the blue So the bottom seam, the seam where those two match up, I want to make sure those are even and on both sides, both over here and over here, both sides. And fold it. And now we're going to take our ruler, and how far in do we go? We go 1 inch in. Doesn't matter whether you use a erasable ruler or not, anything, or marker or not, anything will do. We're going to go in 1 inch and put a tick mark in. We're going to take our nice long ruler. We're going to go from the tick mark to the corner up top. And cut off that whole side. So that's going to give us a little bit of an angle so that the bottom of the bag is 1 inch smaller than the top of the bag. Now let's turn it over and do the same thing on this side. And if you are so inclined, you may draw a line all the way from the tick mark up to the corner. I feel that's what the ruler is for. There's no reason for extra work. But if you would like to and it makes you more comfortable, you can draw a line all the way up. Okay, so now we have it tapered. And now all those spots where things didn't have fabric or batting or interfacing are all gone. It's all there. See, that's why I said you don't have to have an exact size because we're going to be cutting things down. All right, now, do we cut out the circles? I was supposed to do the circles before I did the taper. That was an oops on my part. We'll be okay, I promise. Okay, do we have enough here? Medium, small, medium. I can get half of it. You know what? I'm just going to go with half. I'm not even going to do both sides. If I ever decide to do this again, I can always copy it. So the medium is this middle one. I'm going to put my plastic tracing paper on its side, the corner, so I don't have to cut out any side on either of those. And now, am I doing the medium or the big? Medium. There's the medium. I did the wrong one. All right. Oh well. I'll just ignore that part. And draw on the line. All right. And there's my scissors. There we go. A little plastic or template paper out of my way. So now in order for this to line up straight, I would need to do it before I tapered it. Oops. I'm going to use this center strip as my guide point. Oops. There we go. Turn it over. Guide point. Alright. There we go. And I'm cutting through both layers. If you don't have scissors that are sharp enough, don't do it. And I should be using my good scissors, not these paper scissors, but hey. Actually, I'm going to switch to my good scissors. Yes, that cuts much nicer. So this area here, this half circle area, is what would be the pocket in their version. And I am not adding a pocket. So I'm just going to cut this out and throw it in the garbage. Like I said, I get it. You're wasting fabric by throwing it away, but I just don't see a real use for a pocket of that size. All right. So now we need to cut out the lining. We're not going to cut out the lining, we're just going to cut the length of the lining. It's already the correct distance across, it's just getting it to the right length. Got the fabric, the lining fabric. Is that right? Okay. I'm going to put a mark on here. Well, 2, that way I have a straight line. And I get my ruler. I did it the wrong way. All done. Oh, there's... And let's rotate it. So we want this to be 1/2 inch smaller than the size of the front. So that's why we use the front, put marks on the fabric, and now we're cutting it a 1/2 inch shorter. And then later on we will do all the tapering and everything for that. So that goes back over there for the time being. This goes in the garbage can. And this is extra fabric to be used at a later date. All right, over to the sewing machine. Now, you have to start at the bottom, at the fold, so that everything pushes out this way, and if there's any unevenness, it's up at the top. I am not going to knot my thread because we're going to put boxed corners on here, so I'm just going to sew. I am going to drop it down to a standard 2.5 stitch length. Just go straight up the side. And again, no knotting or anything necessary at the top because that's going to be in another seam later on. Okay. Now we're going to do the other side. Now, to box our corners. Right now we have a straight edge. This is where the seam was that we sewed. We're going to open up, and we're going to push our seam down so it makes a triangle. And you want to make sure you've got it tight. Get the seams pulled out, all that good stuff. And we are going to make a 1.5 inch, a line at 1.5 inches. That will give us a 3-inch box on the bottom of our bag. If you can get this seam open, open it. If you can't, the world's not going to come to an end. I've got my little ruler here, and I'm going to match up 1.5 inches down here, because the 1.5 is going to be on my seam. If I can find it, I want 1.5 inches. Then I want my 45-degree angle line to be on the folded edge. So you 1.5 inches on the seam, and then move it around until you get the 45-degree angle, and then you make a line. And get it as close to the ruler as you can. And then you need clips or pins. With all this bulk, clips are easier, but if you don't have clips, you can use pins. And I'm going to clip it as close as I can to the line, and as close as I can to the line, so that I make sure it stays put. So the other side's the same way. It's kind of boxed already because we boxed the other side, but Fold it down. Press open the seam as best you can. Yeah, the fabric doesn't want to separate. There we go. Take your 1.5 inch mark, put it on the seam, and then adjust up and down until the 45-degree angle is on the fold. And draw a line. Clip to maintain in place. All right. Now we have to sew those. And we sew on the line, not to either side. We sew right on the line. And what that's going to do is it's going to give us a 3-inch box corner. So when we measure this, it's going to be 3 inches. Now in this case, I am going to knit forward and backward. I am not going to use the automatic features on my machine. 1, 2, 3. Now my machine's going to take one more stitch forward and then go back, forward, 1, 2, 3, and then I'm going to go forward again. Sorry, it went back 1 stitch first. And I'm going to do the same thing on the other end of the box. Forward, 1, 2, 3, 4. Backward, 1, 1, 2, 3, 4, and off the edge. I like a nice, strong stitch in my box corners, especially when there's this much bulk to it because of all the fusible fleece and the nice heavy interfacing. Now, 1, 1, 2, 3. 1, 1, 2, 3. Alright, bingo. And now we're going to trim off the extra fabric. So here's our stitch. On this side there's extra lines, but that's the seam we just stitched. We want to do a 1/4 inch from there. And cut off the extra bulk of fabric, because we don't need that. And do the same thing on this side. 1/4 inch from that seam. Throw away the corner. And now let's turn it right side out. And now it stands up. And the distance on the edge on the one side is 3 inches from side to side. Now the tapering on this one is not as evident. I mean, I can kind of see it. The 1 inch is not nearly as extreme. But you can see the fabric. There's less fabric of that strip than there is of this strip because it was tapered. All right. It says to add the straps next, so I'm going to add my feet. So I need 4 little feet and 4 washers. I don't think we need 6. I think 4 will be sufficient. Okay, so I need my cutter. And I need to put holes, so I'm going to move them in a little bit because of the fact that I'm only using 4 instead of 6. There's a little bit of space here. So 1, come on. Oh, it's being fussy. There we go, 1. And we're going to go right here. There's another one. All right. Now on this side, we'll go in about there. Keep in mind, you are more than welcome to have this inside out and draw a square, put markers, and have it exactly where you want. So the feet are all spaced exactly the same distance apart. I'm not being that particular. I may do that on the next one, because again, next one's going to be all pretty and more professional looking. It's going to have rivets and D-rings and hooks and all sorts of stuff. All right. So always use a washer. If you don't use a washer with the feet will have the potential to pull right through the fabric and tear your purse all up. Since I have interfacing, a really nice interfacing and batting in here, I'm not using another piece of interfacing. Normally you would use a second piece of interfacing, just to make sure that even the washer doesn't pull through the fabric or cut the fabric or anything like that. I'm comfortable enough that with these the way they are. So the feet open up kind of like those 3-ring notebooks where you separate the 2 tabs. That's exactly how these feet work. It's just 2 tabs of metal. You have to push one to one side, one to the other side, and it holds the foot in place. And you do that over the washer. And if you're using interfacing, you would use, some people use 2 pieces of interfacing. One under the washer, and one after you put the presser foot on, or the foot on and open the tongs, a second piece on top of that. The nicer the bag, the more features like that you're going to get. Come on. So yeah, if you buy a bag and the metal pieces just the accessories, the metal accessories, come off, it means they didn't use quality procedures when they made whatever bag you have. All right, so the bag now has 4 feet. And I did go in a little bit on the big bag. I put them further out this way, more towards the corner. I did put them in a little bit, but I don't think it needs. I think it'll be fine with 2. So earlier I mentioned I'm only going to use 1 swoop. I'm not going to use that one or that one on the bag that I design, and I may not go down quite as far. I don't know. I'm going to have to decide, because I also have to decide how wide the handles are going to be. That's what I get for making a designer bag, right? All right. So it is half hour before I normally stop, but the next steps that I'm going to do are going to take more than a half hour. So I'm going to call it a day here today, and during our next show we will finish up this bag, and by then I will have designed or figured out what type of accessory I want to go with the bag set, so that we can have lots of stuff that all match and see what we want. So thank you all for watching. We will see you again next time. Don't forget to like the video, subscribe, all that good stuff. I'm in need of a little bit of a boost here, so give me some extra stuff. And oh, I did set up a Patreon account, and that link is on my Facebook account. So if you want to check out my Patreon account, just go to my Facebook page and link over there to Patreon.